In the headlines tonight, Finance Minister Amadou Sane delivers the 2018 budget speech covering different policy areas. The media fraternity in the Gambia remembers the late Dada Haidara, 13 years to the day after he was shot dead in a drive-by shooting. South Africa's High Court orders President Jacob Zuma to set up a commission to investigate state capture. And Rwanda employs strategic measures to tackle perennial water shortage in the East African state. Thank you for joining us. Now we'll look at the main news headlines. And now we'll look at the news in detail. The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Amadou Sane, has laid out the country's 2018 budget. Honorable Sane delivered the first budget speech under the new government. Babukar Kamara was at the Assembly chambers, and here is his report.
Grant us that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner.
A crowded gallery observing parliamentary procedure, marking the country's first national budget for a new democratic Gambia that is committed to ensure serious financial discipline after what many financial experts call a nearly bankrupt country under the former administration.
It has been a very challenging period for the Gambian economy. We also had to quickly stem the sharply deteriorating performance of the economy in more recent times. The new government inherited a debt burden of over $56.5 billion. That's 120% of the GDP.
The status quo challenged by an ambitious national budget of $19 billion and compounded by domestic debt as a result of financial mismanagement, despite initial budget support for the transitional government of President Barrow.
Some $106.1 million in budget support during the transition period, and continue to provide strong backing to our key economic and development activities.
Despite the rough financial edges, the finance minister has good news for Gambian farmers and civil servants.
The current government remains committed to transforming agriculture and natural resource sector into a modern market-oriented commercial sector and well-integrated value chains in order to increase incomes of agricultural value chain actors. In efforts to increase the incomes of our local farmers, the government has increased the farm gate price from $15,300 per ton in 2016 to $17,300 per ton for the season 2017.
The 2018 sectoral appropriation budget is set to cater for both the tourism and trade sectors, significantly creating employment opportunities for the Gambian youth.
And we have seen at the closing where I increased the tax on rice is reduced from 10 to 0%. On oil also the same. There is a significant reduction that is made especially on the cost of the living of the people. We have seen also there are some allowances that increase on people from grade 1 from 500 to 1,500. And then as he mentioned, there is no salary increment. But with that strategy, actually, it will help the low-income earners at the end of the month to go home with something.
Babukar Kamara, GRTS.
Discussions on the way forward for the National Development Plan 2018 to 2021 was held at the Ministry of Finance in Banjul. The meeting was attended by development partners and donor agencies. By Ibrahim Cham has the details.
A high-profile meeting revealed plans to aid and restructure the government's inherited financial burden and tackle challenges, putting in place sustainable development plans to benefit the citizen. The Minister of Finance, Amadou Sane, stated that over the last year, the government has been laying the foundation to overcome these challenges. This, he added, has been done through the support of the country's development partners.
Since the formulation of this National Development Program started, it went through a lot of consultative processes, thematic working groups, a lot of reviews, validation of the first draft at Kairaba, which some of you honored and were present. And today, at least, we have a document. That is the result of all these efforts between yourselves, the consultant and the ministry, finance and all the other sectors.
The UN resident coordinator reiterated the United Nations commitment in supporting the Gambia's development programs. The UN official added that her organization will work with the government in the reintegration process of the returning migrants.
We discussed the possibility of networking or promotional tour, which we hope the government will start organizing soon, and we continue to support all this development aspiration of the Gambia. I agree, at the beginning we all thought the plan was very ambitious, but as the minister explained, and which is quite understandable, at the end of the day, we would want to see a successful and prosperous Gambia.
The EU ambassador to the Gambia revealed plans for an international conference for the Gambia, which will be hosted in Brussels.
International conference for the Gambia, hosted in Brussels, organized by the European Union, to which occasion all countries, all potential partners, international organizations will be invited. Because that could include not only the classical donor partners, but also South-South cooperation, all kinds of form of cooperation.
This forum was part of a comprehensive government strategy to deliver good governance and accountability, national reconciliation, and revitalize and transform the economy for the well-being of all Gambians. For GRTS News, I'm Ibrahim Cham.
The ambassador of the state of Qatar, Mohammed Nasser Al-Kabi, on Thursday organized a dinner to mark Qatar's National Day and celebrate the successes registered by the Gulf state. Kumaba reports that the forum also availed the opportunity to discuss means of strengthening the already cordial relations between Qatar and the Gambia.
It was a colorful ceremony meant to reflect on the achievements of the state of Qatar as the Gulf state celebrates its National Day and anniversary. The day recognized the tremendous efforts made by Qatar's founding fathers who endure severe hardship and pay a dear price for the unity of their nation. The National Day celebration also embeds their identity and history, which embodies the idea and visionary leadership that established the state of Qatar. The ambassador of Qatar to the Gambia acknowledged the numerous infrastructural developments, including major roads projects that have reshaped everything from tourism to transportation in Qatar. That is a trend which will change the trade map in the entire Arabian Gulf, as Ambassador Mohammed reiterated, while reaffirming his government's commitment to working with the Gambia under the new dispensation to strengthen partnership in various areas for the interests of the two countries. Attorney General and Minister of Justice Batambidu highlighted Qatar's commitment and support to the Gambia.
Your Excellency, the Gambia acknowledges with pride the unwavering support and benevolence of the government of the state of Qatar towards the Gambia and her people. And our government will continue to count on this support as we strive to achieve our development objective of transforming the new Gambia to a model of economic and social development.
The dinner is in honor of Qatar's 138th independence anniversary, portraying its accomplishment of self-rule with cooperation, solidarity, commitment and loyalty to their wise leadership. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Kumbaba.
It was precisely 13 years ago when prominent Gambian journalist Deda Haidara was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. Until his demise, the late Deda was a fierce critic of the former government. In this special report, Seni Marina traces the legacy of the respected Gambian journalist and co-founder of the Point newspaper.
Hydra, a prominent Gambian journalist and editor, was murdered on December 16, 2004, when he was driving home after work. It was a joyful day for Mr. Hydra, who was celebrating his wedding anniversary and 13 years since the formation of his widely read publication, The Point newspaper. Mr. Hydra was warned by the regime after being seen as too critical for taking a hostile tone against the establishment in his popular daily morning column, Good Morning, Mr. President. Just a couple of days before his death, lawmakers had approved a bill setting out jail terms for reporters found guilty of sedition and libel, and ordering that newspaper proprietors sign a stiff bond with their properties as guarantee to be allowed to publish. I visited the Bakau-based Point newspaper, which he co-founded with childhood friend Pab Sen, who has continued the campaign to bring Deda stealers to justice. Mr. Sen recalled the fateful day of December 16, 2004, when he lost his close friend and business associate.
He did everything possible for press freedom be maintained in the Gambia. It's because of that he lost his life. He struggled and fought bitterly for the draconian laws which were introduced in 2004. So he struggled to bar the then regime not to introduce these draconian laws.
Layout editor and web manager Mary Bankinjai was with Deda a few hours before his assassination on the 13th anniversary of the Point newspaper.
It's a bittersweet memory. Deda has been like a dad to me and to all of us who have been working here with the Point. I've worked with him since '94 till his death, 2004, so nearly 10 years. A lot to say. He has been a veteran, one of the best journalists in the Gambia. We really miss him. And we always talk about him and always pray for him. For Point to even continue, it's a big legacy.
37-year-old Baba Hydra, the eldest son of the late journalist, was a young man when his dad was killed.
Not only our family, but all the other families of victims. We need an acknowledgement from the government, acknowledging that the old government did a lot of bad things, a lot of wrong things to a lot of people who are suffering still.
Baba, who had lived in exile in the UK, recently returned home to revive and maintain his father's legacy after the fall of the Jammeh regime.
When my dad created this company, he had a vision. And all those visions right now are materializing, and that is becoming daily and also being recognized worldwide. And to be honest, I was exiled, but since I'm back, I can see, the major developments, that happen. I'm happy today to see that his anniversary is well celebrated.
Efforts to seek justice in the case have been futile under ex-President Yahya Jammeh, but the new Barrow administration has expressed commitment to respect the will of the ECOWAS court, which ruled that families of the victims be compensated by the Gambia government. A local newspaper, The Standard, recently published findings of an independent investigation into the alleged killers of Mr. Hydra and revealed chilling details of his death from a source currently in police custody. Philip Kote, a Ghanaian, has marking the 13th anniversary of Deda Hydra. The event will be organized in partnership with the Ministry of Information and Communication Infrastructure, the Deda Hydra Family, the Point newspaper, Article 19 International and Victim Center. A press statement from the Journalists Union says this year's event will also highlight cases of media practitioners who have experienced the brutality of the former regime. The day will kick off with a procession from the KMC grounds to the scene of Dede's shooting. 13 years after his killing, this site is still a crime scene for journalists who continue to question how a great act of impunity went unpunished. Mr. Dede Hydra is survived by Mary Hydra, his wife of 33 years and 4 children. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Seni M.K. Marena.
The Assistant Superintendent of the Gambia Immigration Department has called on parents and the general public to desist from aiding the country's youth by sending huge sums of money for the perilous journey to Europe, nicknamed the back way. Ibrahim Masane has more on that story.
Zakaria Dabo made this remark on day 4 of the nationwide tour by the Director General of the Gambia Immigration Department, Buba Sanyang. The team made site visits and meetings at Brikamaba Immigration Post, Jaring Police Station, Jarasoma, Senoba Border Post, and a courtesy call on the Governor Lower River Region.
When it comes to regular migration, this is an issue that is affecting our community. In fact, the country at large. Yeah. Because we have realized that the people who involved in this regular migration, if you check, you talk with them on certain interviews, you will realize that, even the parents are involved.
Senior officials of the department renewed their call on the public and security forces for closer collaboration in combating criminal activities within the region. Commissioner of Child Welfare, Fatu Demba, advised parents and members of the community against child exploitation.
We are having difficulties on child protection issues, example like child labor, exploitation, and child abuse. We have seen underage children selling nanas, banana, water, and so on. Okay, this is the reason why we are sensitizing the family, the parents, and the guardians, so that it will reduce the crime rate of child exploitation, child abuse, and child labor. That's the main essence of this sensitization. The penalties is if we find out that the child is being exploited by the parents, we will use the law against them. That's the Children's Act.
The Governor, Lower River Region, Fantabojan Samatemane, appealed to authorities to improve the working conditions of security forces in her region. He lamented on lack of mobility and accommodation for security forces. The Alcalo of Japine Tembeto, Bori Damfa, the chiefs of Jara West and Kian Central, Alhaji Yaya Jajusi and Alhaji Dembasanyang, urged the immigration officials to issue Gambians with national identity cards. Brahma N. Sane, GRTS News.
When we return after the break, we'll take a look at the sports news. The international stories are also ahead. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Despite another poor season, Kenya's horse racing fraternity is optimistic that the sport will return to its former glory. The Jockey Club of Kenya admits that times have been tough, but remains confident that the situation will improve soon. CJTN Sadiq Shaban has more.
They are trooping in for a new horse racing season. It's been a long time since they were last here. A quick glance on the day's program gets the audience to select their favorite horses. Today, there are 6 races on the card at the country's only racecourse. Some jockeys have been out of action for months, and as they return, they know too well that they can't. Some jockeys have been out of action for months, and as they return, they know too well that they cannot afford a lightweight display to the spectators.
I have 2 more wins to become a professional. So if I don't get the races running, I don't become a professional. So I'm looking forward to becoming a professional. So we're based on merit.
But the races have been hard to come by. There are fewer riders, spectators and horses. The race to the finish line has been longer and tougher for everyone involved in the sport recently.
Can't tell a horse, I'm sorry, but your race has been postponed. You need to take it easy. They're, of course, fighting fit, and it's difficult to bring them back, so we have had to try and do that. So it's been very unideal, if you like, for us, as well as for them, and especially for the trainers.
Another quick glance on the board indicates a race has been dropped for the well-being of the animal. Such has been the seesaw nature of this sport recently, indicating a shifting reality for the industry. But insiders are blaming the club's top leadership for reluctance to address the situation in time. But the management say the horse, in fact, has not left the barn.
This is a little bit of a slow start with the numbers of horses on the track this afternoon, mainly because of hard ground and also the numbers of horses in total that we have that are in training.
One of Kenya's old sports has now found itself going round in circles, looking for answers and staring at a bleak future ahead.
You know, it's been a tough run. We could do with some more support. So the more people could come, the better, really. Yeah, I live in hope. I'm the eternal optimist, as they say.
The horse numbers have not increased significantly since the first race of the season, but the jockey family has. In fact, more people and sponsors are showing interest in the sport, hoping to bring it back together. Low entry numbers have affected the horse racing calendar in Kenya, forcing the Jockey Club of Kenya to end the 2016-2017 season earlier than anticipated. And as the new season begins, stakeholders are hoping to see the return of more jockeys in action in order to guarantee a bright future for this sport. Sadiq Shaban, CGTN, at the Ngong West Coast in Nairobi, Kenya.
As promised, we will bring you news from outside the Gambia, but after this short break. In South Africa, the High Court has ordered a commission of inquiry to be set up within 180 days to probe allegations that President Jacob Zuma allowed a wealthy family to influence state decisions. The country's anti-corruption watchdog had recommended the inquiry more than a year ago. CGTN's Yolisa Njamila has more.
President Jacob Zuma has been dealt a blow this week, losing 2 court cases in one day. Zuma was ordered to set up a commission of inquiry. The court was scathing, calling him seriously reckless for challenging recommendations by anti-corruption watchdog in a case against him. In another case, a judge ruled that Zuma had abused the judicial process by trying to block a report on corruption. The court ordered him to pay legal fees. In yet another blow against the president, on Wednesday, the court gave Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa 60 days to appoint a new national prosecution's head. Zuma's legal team has now filed an appeal against that ruling. Zuma argues that the court was wrong in finding that he's unable to exercise his powers in relation to the NDPP, while he's able to perform his function as president in other areas. Zuma says the constitution does not allow for this.
This is very serious. It will cause a lot of pressure around him, especially as he faces the exit from the leadership of the ANC and possibly exit from the presidency, depending on what comes out of the election. What is very curious about the 2 verdicts is that they take away the executive authority for President Zuma to appoint the key executioners of the judgments.
In his 10-year term as president, Zuma has been dogged by allegations of corruption. He has thus far denied all of them. Zuma will be stepping down this weekend as ANC leader. He will, however, remain as president until elections in 2019.
The biggest fear around President Zuma right now is what is likely to happen once he's out of power, once he loses the legal protection that comes with executive protection from the South African Constitution.
The ANC elective conference starts on Saturday. Unison Jambela, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Rwanda has been battling with water supply problems over the past few years now. The country is working on a lasting solution. It plans to encourage water storage through multipurpose dams and rainwater harvesting. Eventually, authorities say households across the country will have reliable access to the resource. CGTN's Tul Shabalala has more.
Dawn, Uimana Annunciata fetches water from Yanze River in Goma, northern Rwanda. She needs to irrigate her crops. By getting up early, she avoids conflict with other farmers, also desperate for their share of water from the river.
When you wake up early, there is a lot of water in the river. We use it to water our crops before the sun comes up.
The Yanze River is the main water supply for Kigali, providing up to 80% of the city's water requirements. The competition for water highlights the scarcity of the natural resource in the landlocked East African nation.
We don't waste any water. We use it to water plants, wash clothes and other house chores.
Rwanda faces an annual water shortfall of about 330 cubic meters. To mitigate this problem, the government has come up with a comprehensive plan, encouraging water storage through multi-purpose dams and rainwater harvesting. The project is expected to cost about $78 million over a 25-year period, and the government hopes will solve the water scarcity once and for all. Tuli Shabalala, CGTN. At the break of dawn.
And now to end the news, a look again at the main news headlines. The Finance Minister, Amadou Sane, has delivered the 2018 budget speech, the first under the new government. The speech covers different policy areas. The media fraternity in the Gambia is remembering the late Dada Haidara, 13 years to the day after he was shot dead in a drive-by shooting. South Africa's High Court has ordered President Jacob Zuma to set up a commission of inquiry to investigate state capture. And Rwanda is employing strategic measures to tackle perennial water shortage in the East African country. Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of GRTS News. We thank you for the pleasure of your company. From your news team, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.